What's up, YouTube? It's your boy King Havo, and I am playing some Madden 16 on the Xbox One. Um, it's been a while since I've made a video, and I've been busy. I've been a little sick under the weather for the past week or so, um, and just been busy. It's been hard to get back on and make a video. So for all you guys that follow me, my channel's still here. I'm not going anywhere. But I got a real, job and family to support and all that, and and plus I'm working on a number of different projects. So hang in there. I'll be back when I got more time. But just wanted to make this video to just check in and touch base with you guys. This video is going to just be a quick. It's not going to be quick, but it's going to be a video about basically a couple things. One is what I've been working on lately. Another is just a response to calling in the Sim Standard radio show a few weeks ago. I wanted to make a couple comments on that because I really didn't get a chance to finish what I had to say. So for those of you guys who listened to that show and you heard me a few weeks ago, then call in, then you'll kind of know what I'm referring to. And then I'll just drop some impressions of Madden. And yeah, so it'll be a lengthy video. So if you guys want to come in and check it out, pieces of it at a time, that's fine. Sorry, I don't make short videos, but hope you enjoy it. So just to kind of share, I've been working on All Pro Football recently. That game to me still has the #1 gameplay out of any football game that's ever been made in terms of on-field action. That game is just does it so well. I mean, the way the quarterback, the pocket, the way the O-line and D-line interacts, the way the guys, when they get an injury, you see them grab their hamstring when they're running. I mean, there's just so many elements to the game that are just solid. And, Madden has a lot to learn from what 2K did. And unfortunately, that game is, 9 years old now. 9 years. I mean, that's like centuries when it comes to technology. It's just amazing. So I've been working on trying to unlock new features in the All Pro Football editor. I've also been, it takes a lot of time. I mean, for those of you guys who have ever done programming for a living or as a hobby, I mean, or even taken some courses, I mean, how long it takes to do this stuff. And it's really difficult because you have to basically go into the game, load it up to your Xbox or PS3, whatever you got, and load the All Pro Football game and sit there and play around with different settings and save the file, and then open the file on your computer and see what changes. And it's just as an example, like I was trying to unlock coaches and being able to rename coaches and change their physical attributes and so on. And you have to go in there and find where the coaches' names are, find out somehow where their data lives that attaches to a team, that also there's data that has attributes for the coach. To even find where that exists in the file is a huge, monumental task. And then once you get to that point, now you have to figure out what each value does, what it changes. In the meantime, whenever you change a value, the game breaks, it freezes in the game. So it's just you're constantly dealing with issues. And that's just to research. Like the guy Catch 22 did a long time ago. Just to research this stuff and figure it out takes hours and hours upon hours. It's just endless amounts of time. And then on top of it, you have to go and code these things and make them work to where someone can actually go into an editor and make changes. And it's just a tremendous feat. And I'm not saying this because I'm looking for a pat on the back or a thank you from the community. It's not about that at all. I do this for myself. And if I release a new version of the editor, I do. If I don't, I don't. That's pretty much where I'm at with it all. I heard Darth Destro's video, and I'm right there with him. I mean, the community. I'm really disappointed in the community in terms of what we support and what we don't support. I think a lot of people take this stuff for granted. Everything that's out, whether it be an old 2K game or Madden or editors or rosters that people build. There's a reason why guys like Nef1 don't put out rosters anymore. And it's not even about donations. I mean, donations are one way to support, but you can support in a lot of other ways. You can support by putting things out on your own, taking some time and trying to put out a roster or uncover things or start a YouTube channel, whatever it might be. Doesn't have to always be monetary. Donations are one way to do it. Support. You can tweet. You can subscribe. You can do things to support these guys' channels and Twitter and social media accounts. There's a number of ways you can give back. And it's just proven time and time again. That's why we don't have options. Is because no one supported Backbreaker. No one supported, and when I say no one, I mean a large part of the community that's out there. A lot of people just didn't support these games. And, there's the game out called Access Football. Now, that game is very, very rough, and, I'm not going to even dare compare that game to anything that's, made by a AAA company. But, even supporting a game like that is, as much of a stretch as that is, the idea is support, And then one day, these companies can, put out an all-pro football 2K9, Backbreaker 2. These games could have been a reality if there would have been the proper support for them, So the point that I'm trying to make is that it just takes a lot of work, and you get burnt out, and I got burnt out to the point where I said, you know what? Instead of having to do all this work to recreate the NFL, let me just get this game that people say is good, and even though I tested it back before it was released at Tiburon, I kind of knew it wasn't really my cup of tea, and they really didn't do enough to earn my dollar. I said to myself, you know what? I never get to play any games. All I ever do is just code, and research. And I said to myself, you know what? Why don't I just, I saw EA Access had for $29, they had a 1-year subscription to getting EA games for free. Madden 16 was added to their vault on the Xbox One. So I said to myself, you know what? Let me just try this game out, see if I like it. And if I like it, then you know what? That'll save me some headache, and I can actually enjoy another football title. And I did not like those animations at all. And yeah, I can actually play a game that has the NFL in it and enjoy it, and not have to do all this work. So I went ahead and downloaded it, and I played a few games, and I thought that the graphics were nice. The gang tackling I thought was something that shows some promise. I think it's in its infancy stage. I think it has a lot more, tweaking and coding to do. I still don't like the way the guys slide around the field. I don't like the animations. I think the physics engine still needs a lot of work. Um, it's very stiff, very wonky. The guys slide around. They look like they're all bow-legged. Um, just the animations have a lot to be desired, and and it looks like they've made some improvements. I mean, I think the commentary is a little bit better. The grass looks phenomenal. The the engine looks like it's getting more and more tuned, but it's still, like I said, it's like step 1 out of 10. Like, they have like 9 more steps to go, in my opinion, before they get to finishing this engine, or even coming close to something that looks okay. But what you get in All Pro Football and the 2K games, you just don't get here. You don't get the player likeness. You don't get, like in 2K, you have the abilities where one guy will do an acrobatic catch and one won't. One will be a speed burner. One guy will have a rocket arm, laser arm, or scrambler. I mean, you just don't have. Everybody just seems the same in this game. They just did the same play, I think, twice in a row. So you don't have any of that. Like I said, the animations are not very good. Very, very just stiff, and there's just so many things about it that just need improvement, and there's only so much graphics can do to help you. That's just the bottom line. So basically, me downloading this game, all it did for me was, just after like a game, maybe a game and a half, all it did was inspire me to go right back to All Pro Football, which is crazy in my opinion, because I was at the point of taking a break for a little while and literally burnt out. And that same night, all it did was motivate me to go back into All Pro Football, because I'm looking for a simulation experience, and I don't get that here. All Pro Football isn't perfect. It has room for improvement. Excuse me. I'm a little under the weather still. But at the same time, it is as close to simulation as I think any company's ever come. But it's not perfect either. But when you look at your options, that game is going to give you the best on the field gameplay, in my opinion. Backbreaker has some solid elements to it, but even Backbreaker's so limited in what you can do, and the guys are like just these big drones running around. It has a lot of features that never got added to the game, and it was our fault because we didn't support it. So all it did was inspire me to go back to All Pro Football and bang my head against the wall and try to do more, which is, like I said, it's just crazy. But at the same time, it just shows how far EA has to go to get this game better. For those of you guys who listen to the Sim Standard radio show, this is my other topic I wanted to bring up in this video. I called about, I think, almost 3 or 4 weeks ago, and 3 or 4 shows ago, because they do it every week, and I listen to those guys, and I have no problem with those guys. Smitty and I get along, and he and I talk offline here and there, and we all have different opinions at times, but I can agree to disagree if I have to. Excuse me, I'm still trying to get my throat working here. So basically, I called into the show, and I was just sharing thoughts and saying, you go down to EA every year as a game changer. EA Tiburon listens to your feedback. They give you an opportunity to play the game early. You know, they pretty much want you to share with your community what's going on and promote the game. I mean, that's part of why game changers are there. You know, I used to work at EA Sports. I know exactly what goes on there. I got guys that I know that work there now. You know, the game changer um, the game changer program was built to extend a voice to the community. You know, with social media, with all these guys that have a following, you know, it takes away from having to do marketing or more marketing, additional marketing. It's free advertising for them, and that's the main reason why they do it. Don't let anybody else fool you. No matter what they tell you, you know, they don't need someone to come in and, you know, I don't think they need someone to tell them how football should be made. They have access to NFL players that actually play the game for a living at a high level. And, you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know what a good quality football game needs. I mean, these guys are very talented. They're guys who have to put super complex coding algorithms together to even make some of this stuff even look halfway decent on the field. So don't think for a second that they're dumb people or that they need really any help, because the majority of it is just they just need a voice. And that's not a discredit to the guys who go at Sim Standard. You know, I hope that, you know, they listen to you, and I hope that they actually, you know, hear what you have to say. But just keeping it real. That's what they do. And what I was trying to say is that, you know, these guys, Sim F-Ball Critic, Azure Effect, and Smitty, they've been on YouTube for a long time. As I'm sure if you're listening to me, you've probably heard of them, and you're very familiar with, you know, their history. I've been listening to them since they first started their YouTube channels. You know, Apex was the pioneer. You know, Gideon Prime, he was the guy that pretty much started it all for us. Versus was out there as well. You know, and he had his, you know, his videos where he illustrated, you know, on a deep level, sliders and things like that to do, you know, to show exploits and show inadequacies in these games. And, you know, they all kind of, the whole community, that they all kind of got together and they, you know, put together a Sim Standard. And then, you know, they had some fallout, and these three guys became game changers at EA. And, you know, I think it's because they just got sick and tired of no competition, and if there's no other game to play, then, you know, they might as well, you know, focus on a game that's available to them. And you know, and that's great. But, you know, if you're, my thing about when I called the other day, it was basically to say that, you know, those guys started out as, you know, the sim standard, and they were promoters of 2K football and games like Backbreaker, and they could recognize the difference between Madden and those types of games. So they were very much, you know, a promoter of what we called sim football. And when you look at Madden and what they're doing to support and promote Madden, it's just nowhere near it. It just really isn't. If you really look at it, it's just not as fluid, not as realistic. You know, it's just not, you know, not what it, anywhere near what it needs to be. And, you know, it's one thing to go to EA and say, I'm going to promote, or I'm going to give them time. I know it takes monumental effort to get these games built, and these guys have a yearly cycle, and only, you know, certain people in the dev team, and so many different tasks to accomplish. And I guess what I was trying to do when I called the show the other day was say that, you've been going out there for 3 years. I think this will be their 4th year. And, how much time are you going to give these guys? Because every year that goes by and we say, oh, well, the game's getting better, it's improving. It's like giving a game, I don't know why they keep doing the same play every time. I don't like that at all. I guess it's going to be a touchdown. Oh, he stopped him. Oh, no. That's funny. He should have come down with all those guys on him. But going back to what I was saying was, you go out there every year, and I know that the cycle is the game's released. They have a lot of good things to say about the game. They say, listen, these devs are listening to us. They have the same common interest. They want to make the game better, blah, blah, blah. And then, and the game just doesn't get much better. There's only so many times you can say to us that things that we don't know, that you talk to the devs and they have things coming up, and then the next year comes out and those things either aren't there or they're just forgotten, or they're there but they're nowhere near what was said or hinted at. And what I was trying to say is that you start to lose credibility. Because number one, you're already an EA game changer, so you're already putting yourself out there as looking for criticism. You go from a 2K supporter, somebody who promoted, those kind of games. Now you're on the Madden team almost. It's like, man, you're just looking for it, and that's why they get the things that they get sometimes from people. And a lot of times it's not fair, but it comes with the territory, right? But the real problem is that if you keep saying the game's getting better and it doesn't get anywhere near where it needs to be, this game's like a 5 out of 10 max. When I compare this to 2K8 in terms of the gameplay, it's like just really doesn't have anything on 2K8 at all. It has some gang tackling that's flawed, but it's still a step in the right direction. It has really good graphics, but other than that, even the DB wideout interactions are so clunky, and it just doesn't look that great. And I'm not trying to dog this game. I wish this game was a great game, because I wouldn't have to do any more coding. I would play this game and I'd be happy, and that would be it. But it's not the case. So what I was trying to say was that, when the game's not getting to the point where it can match up with a game that's 9 years old, then, they're failing. Those Tiburon guys are failing, and the guys over at Sim Standard, I think they need to recognize that. I think they need to, if they're not already, they need to tell those guys at EA that this is it, guys. We've been going for 3 years. We're not free labor here. We demand results, and you're just not giving them to us. But the problem is that, and this is where the credibility is lost, because they have stated in the Madden review Sim Standard radio shows, they stated that the game was great. Azure Effects said the game was great. If you listen to that show, you'll hear he said it was great. I know some F-Ball critics said it was good, and I know Smitty said it was good. But they also mentioned that it has areas to improve upon. I know the guy who calls in 757. He said it was phenomenal, pretty much. A lot of their callers say it's phenomenal. And I listened to that show here and there. I listened to the archives. I know when they hung up on me and when I called in. So if you guys hear this, you can hear my background. I've been listening to you guys since you guys started. I know there was a question. I think Sim F-Ball Critic had some questions about how long I've been listening to them, because I probably haven't been listening to them for very long, because if I was, and I know where they stand. And I just want to respond and say that I have been listening to you. I've listened to about 80 to 90% of all of your Sim Standard radio shows. I've been listening to you guys all the way back to before you were even called the Sim Standard. Listen to Apex versus, you know, Moody a little bit, but you know all the guys out there. I've been listening for forever, and this is so I'm not some newbie guy just hearing one show and putting you out there as like, oh no, this is just what you said. No, this is a guy who's been listening to you for a long time. So don't get that twisted at all. I know exactly what's been said and not, and I know that you guys think the game's been improving. You guys also say it's not where it needs to be, but I don't think you give the game the criticism that it deserves, to be honest. And maybe that's because people are always attacking Madden, and so you have your defenses up to protect it. Plus, you have a stake in it because you're going out there and you're part of the team, quote unquote. You're somewhat a part of the team, and and there's some pride in that. I mean, Rex Dixon calls your show and says, "Oh, it's play. This game is the gameplay. The foundation is set, and we're happy with the gameplay." And they're going to focus on different things. That's ridiculous to me, that they're happy with the gameplay. I would storm out of that building and be like, if you guys are happy with the gameplay, then I'm done here. My job is done. I can't do this anymore. And that's where the credibility comes in. If you want to represent the sim community, let it be known that we're not happy with this game. Let it be known that this game is trash compared to APF 2K8. And if those guys aren't going to improve after 4 years, this is going to be your fourth year going out there, then you need to call it quits, just to send a message. And if you don't do something like that, then that's fine. I respect it. You could go out there till as long as you want, basically, forever. As long as they're willing to have you. I don't know what that was, but that was really ugly looking. That was really ugly, and this is where the this is where the physics engine is just shown the flaws, because this is disgusting. I mean, look at this. Let's look at this, guys. I mean, they're just playing the lambada. You're doing lambada right there. You got two guys who do the same animation. Look at those two guys jumping there. Boom. I mean, that just looks ridiculous. And then they're sitting there. He's sitting there dancing with this guy. And he finally goes to the floor. I mean, and this is kind of where it needs to improve, because there's a little bit of clipping right there. I mean, even the way number 52 gets up just looks odd. And, this is just another example of where this game has issues. And this video is not about breaking down this game, because I just don't have the patience for it, to be honest. So I'm going to be getting back into all-pro football where, things actually look a lot better. And the point I was trying to make when I called into the Sim Standard show was to say that, you guys started out as a voice in the community, and the community is not happy. And whenever you're on your show and you're promoting the game, and you're saying the game's improving, and you're saying that 2K's dead, it's funeral, blah blah blah, and you're attacking other games, it's like you need to kind of take a step back and say, what are we doing here? Every time you say the game's getting better, every time it doesn't get better and doesn't get near the point where it needs to be, then even if it has small improvements that it makes, we all know it's not where it needs to be. You guys have admitted it's not where it needs to be. And at the end of the day, I think that, and I'm going to say it like this, if I was going out to EA as a game changer, those guys would have maximum 3 years, max 3 years to get their act together. And I would want to see dramatic improvements year over year. And I'm not talking about monumental things. I'm talking about, let's start with the basics. Let's start with the running animations. Let's start with the offensive and defensive line interactions. Let's start with something basic and let's make it perfect next year. And they could have other dev teams go out and work on MUT and draft champions and all that, stuff. But let's focus on the things that are needed in the game. And I want to see year over year those changes made. And if those aren't made, then I'm, pushing it the next year. And if those aren't changed, I'm pushing it maybe the next year. But you know what? You get to a point where if they're not doing the things that need to be done, you say, you know what? I'm off this train. I'm off the train. And that's where, the difference is between, guys like you and guys like me. I wouldn't be sitting there going back every year and dealing with the same answers. I just wouldn't be able to do it. I'd walk in there and there'd be fights in those meetings because it would be like, what are you guys doing? And then they wouldn't want me around, and it's not because I can't control myself in a professional environment. It's just because you can only pull the wool over my eyes so many times. If you're not going to be on board to make the game what it needs to be, or the suits aren't going to let you, then let's call it what it is and let's part ways. So if they're not doing that, which they're clearly not doing, then what are you guys doing is the question. Why are you going there still? What is your motivation? And that was part of my question. What's your motivation? Number one, and number two, just know that you are losing credibility with your audience because you're saying one thing and the game's coming out to be a different thing. The excuse of, I talked to the devs and I know things that you guys don't know, that only lasts like a couple times. It's been over 3 years. Can't say that anymore. It doesn't work. So, anyways, that was part of the reason why I called that day. And, if you guys, hear this, hopefully, you understand what I was trying to say, and my feelings have been stated here. I think Madden has a lot to improve upon. I wish they started with the basics. They're never going to do that because they're in the business to sell games to people who really aren't simulation. There are a lot of arcade guys out there who want an arcade game, and this is what they bring. And even then, it's ugly. So, whatever. That's everything I got. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll be on soon. Keep a lookout, and peace.